In the United States, the Bitcoin superpower, the crypto capital of the world, and the undisputed leader in artificial intelligence.
President, your beloved New York City may well be led by a communist soon, Zorhan Mandami, who in his nomination speech said he will defy ICE and will not allow ICE to arrest criminal aliens in New York City. Your message to communist Zorhan Mandami?
Well, then we'll have to arrest him. Look, we don't need a communist in this country, but if we have one, I'm going to be watching over him very carefully on behalf of the nation. We send him money. We send him all the things that he needs to run a government. And by the way, they get about 3 times what you get, Ron. If you look at the per capita, Florida gets 1/3 of what New York gets in terms of the numbers. Why don't you give us those numbers?
Yeah, well,
because that's what we should send him.
Yeah, well, like sometimes people say Florida gets more because they count Social Security recipients, but that's not money to the state. Those are seniors that live here. If they moved to North Carolina, you could count it there. So it has no interaction with the state government. They get more in the city and state governments than we get.
Right, substantially. We're going to be watching that very carefully, and a lot of people are saying he's here illegally. We're going to look at everything, and ideally. He's going to turn out to be much less than a communist. But right now, he's a communist. That's not a socialist. I've always said, we will not have socialism in this country. In the speeches, I said, well, what? They skipped socialism. And you got a lot of them like that.
So, Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, 4 words for you. Turn the volume up. New York will remain a city of immigrants, a city built by immigrants, powered by immigrants, and as of tonight, led by an immigrant.
How you see RLUSD fitting into this landscape, the stablecoin landscape that's increasingly competitive?
Yeah. Look, I think the estimates around the size of the stablecoin market are actually understated. So I've seen numbers ranging from 750 billion all the way up to 3 or 4 trillion. I think when you step back and think about what problem is being solved, it's a big problem. And whether it's a corporate, whether it's individuals, making money move the way information moves today is powerful. Making it easy for them to pay each other, pay for things, cross-border. These are all very powerful things where you have trillions of dollars flowing. And so when you see markets that big, I can see a lot of capital continuing to flow to this market. As you pointed out, Ripple is launched our stablecoin just under a year ago. We just passed $1 billion market cap. So in 10 months, we're very happy with the progress. Ripple is always focused on that kind of institutional use case. So we're integrating RLUSD in our payment flows where it makes sense, where a corridor or a currency pair is more efficient to use a stablecoin than it might be to use XRP. And we want to make sure we're solving the customer problem as efficiently and as inexpensively as possible. Sometimes stablecoin is the way to do that. So I think the whole market's going to grow. Ripple, I think, has an exciting play within that. There's obviously some other very successful players, which we welcome. And I think the whole market can grow a lot. I focus a little bit less on the size of the piece we have as opposed to the overall market. If the overall market grows, I think we're going to do well. So for us, the distribution plan around RLUSD is more focused on the institutional use case, on institutional collateral. We now have an asset in Ripple Prime, a prime brokerage platform where people can use RLUSD as good regulatory collateral. So there's examples where we think it'll drive demand for RLUSD that's differentiated compared to some of the other stablecoins.
Are you considering doing an IPO in the U.S.?
Yeah. So if Ripple were to prioritize going public today, we would definitely look at the U.S. markets. They're the deepest markets, the broadest markets, the most efficient markets. So I think we would prioritize that. When we were talking about that before, we actually had exchanges from other countries around the world courting us because the U.S. was so, I think, illogically hostile towards this industry. Now, that being said, going public still isn't a short-term priority for us. We always kind of keep an eye on that, and maybe at some point we will. But for now, we're focused on building. And we have the balance sheet that's allowed us to make these multi-billion-dollar acquisitions and to continue to grow the business. We've also been able to return liquidity to shareholders. This year, we've completed over $2 billion of tender offers. So we're buying shares back from our shareholders. So that's getting liquidity to some of our early investors. And so far, we feel like we're in a good place on that. But we'll obviously continue to watch and make.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And I come back with that video just to make you think. And make sure you're joining the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. Also, go like and follow the TikTok. More videos to come. And we have Trump again on the U.S. being the Bitcoin, crypto, and AI capital of the world. And guess what? The sheep have no clue. Not only is he talking about crypto, but Trump and family are getting paid. Remember, your life is an illusion and TV is your reality. And we have Trump on Zoran. Says that he will be arrested if he tries to stop ICE. And I told you the Hegelian dialectic is about to be stepped up. And then also the distractions, the movies are definitely coming. So get your popcorn and let it play out. And don't forget the Zoran means bright. And we know that's the bright star. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. Now we have Brad Garlinghouse on stablecoins. And with the Genius Act, these stablecoin issuers have to be fintech banks. And then also, they're buying the short end of these treasuries and helping out the Fed. And then we also know December 1st, the Fed is going to start buying the short end also. And Brad Garlinghouse also talks about using RLUSD for institutional collateral. And what does that equal? That's right, fees. And we know Ripple is a bank. And then he was asked about a Ripple IPO, tried to dance around it. But we know now eventually it's definitely going to happen because they've completed the whole ecosystem of becoming a bank. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And we have Tom Lee on Bitcoin and crypto. And of course, he's looking sad. And he had the nerve to say that Bitcoin is sensitive to liquidity. We know all assets are sensitive to liquidity, especially if they were artificially pumped. And we know cryptos and stocks were artificially pumped. And of course, it's time to take some of that air out the bubble. And that starts in 2026 because now it's time to build. It's time to build that fourth industrial revolution. And he was asked about the funding stress and SOFR. And we know the Fed rushed in with liquidity. Remember, SOFR replaced LIBOR. And he admitted that crypto has a lot of leverage. And that leverage was deleveraged last month. And I want you to remember something. Japan haven't even started raising rates. And they own a whole lot of United States debt. So we're going to have a lot of corrections over these next 2 years. And then we know we run into Shemitah for the normal crash. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And then we have household debt, the highest in history. And I tell you all the time, one thing you have to do is go to the Fed website. And you can get all this data. Credit cards, house debt, student loans. The American consumers are hurting. But we also know Americans are spoiled. And they're going to spend until it's over. And the government knows that. So what do? They cause a problem, wait for the reaction, and run in with the solution. They know consume means to be eaten up. These consumers are going to spend till they can't. And then they're going to run to the government so they can get the solution that was ready 10, 20, 30 years ago. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And we have the government shut down. And we know the real reason why the government is shut down. Because we're going to AI and blockchain. But this is day 36, the longest shutdown in history. And every day that the government is shut down, we know it's putting more pressure, not only on the United States economy, but the global economy. Remember, we're in a fragmented world. They need to break up every single sector in order to bring in the robots, algorithms, and drones to take the economy over, pay each other with crypto, and the sheep go inside the metaverse. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you, because he knows. when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
All right, well, check out Bitcoin because that's rallying more than 3% after dipping below $100,000 yesterday for the first time since June. So what does today's bounce back mean for crypto and for the broader market? Joining us now is Tom Lee, Fundstrat Head of Research and CIO and a CNBC contributor. And Tom, it's great to have you back on.
Great to see you.
So let's start right there because we did have a bit of a bounce back here in Bitcoin and really across the crypto landscape today. But yesterday, as Katie Stockton over at Fairlead pointed out, Bitcoin broke below its 200-day moving average. I know she's watching some technicals there pretty closely. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense to watch the technicals for Bitcoin. As you know, Bitcoin is very sensitive to market liquidity and also perceptions about risk appetite and risk premia. And, over the past couple of weeks, I think there have been headwinds building, right? From the government shutdown to a hawkish Fed cut that was done last month and uncertainty about December. And as you know, with the shutdown, Treasury liquidity, the Treasury general account's actually been building cash. So I think all of these created a cascade of problems that put pressure on crypto. But hopefully, as you know, headwinds become tailwinds when you can resolve these things.
We've been talking enough about it, but that funding stress we've seen in SOFR, I know there was data that was put out on Monday showing just a huge drop in that secured overnight financing rate on Halloween from the day before. Should we be paying closer attention to that and what that's meant in terms of the liquidity picture across asset classes?
People definitely pay attention, Morgan, because one, as you know, that can often be an early sign of stress, but it also takes place when there's window dressing. So and banks are doing window dressing at the end of month. So I am kind of watching it, but I think those funding stresses have eased. And of course, it hasn't spilled over and reflected in what should be building stress in either credit markets or in bank equities. And so I would just say that it's an anomaly and it may be due to the shutdown. But yeah, it's worth watching. 2022 when FTX collapsed, and then in 2020 when we had the COVID shock. And in both cases, those were really widespread deleveraging events in crypto, because as you know, in crypto, there is typically a lot of leverage. The October 10th deleveraging was the biggest in history. And that means there are still ripple effects being felt even 2 weeks later. There has been a DeFi protocol, Streamer, that actually reported a pretty sizable loss, and that created further ripple effects. And that's what happened yesterday, along with this thing called the balancer hack. So I'd say it's probably still a couple of more weeks. The good news is there aren't a lot of bodies floating to the surface, so it doesn't feel systematic, but it's going to take some time for confidence to come back. And I think that's why crypto took it so hard in the last couple of weeks.
Third quarter New York Fed household debt and credit report. Household debt balance is rising by $197 billion, called $200 billion to $18.6 trillion. That's a new record, but up only modestly. Mortgage and student loan and credit card debt all rose modestly. HELOC debt up a little bit more, actually a little bit elevated, but auto loan debt, which we've been watching closely because of some concern about delinquencies there, that was flat. Overall delinquencies, however, they did rise, pushed up by credit cards and student loan debt. Mortgage, autos, and delinquency debts were stable, but there was serious delinquency. The serious delinquency dates of delinquency levels of 90 days plus. That was highest for the 30 to 39 and the 40 to 49 age groups. That rise in delinquency rate is concentrated in lower income and low and younger age populations, something to watch. 9.4% of all student loan debt is 90 plus days delinquent, and that is down from 10.2% in Q2, but certainly elevated, guys.
We've also, as of midnight, entered day 36 of the government shutdown, a new milestone on the dysfunction of Washington, D.C. with the longest shutdown on record. Has there been any movement to reopen the government?
Well, we have gotten perhaps a glimmer of hope. We heard from Senate Majority Leader John Thune, who said that a potential off-ramp seems to be coming together, but importantly, this is very fragile, and it doesn't seem like the conversations have extended to the leadership level yet, but our understanding is there is a bipartisan group of rank-and-file senators that are discussing some potential solutions that would likely include a promised vote on extending the Affordable Care Act premium tax subsidies that are set to expire at the end of this year. That has really been at the core of Democrats' demands. They want to see some changes made, some promises before the government reopens, but Republicans have been holding the line that the government needs to reopen in order for any of those talks to take place. So perhaps the compromise can be that they will set a firm date on the calendar for a vote on the extension. We're going to have to wait and see because, Danny, as you all know, pressure is mounting. Everything from delays at airports due to a shortage of unpaid air traffic controllers to now open enrollment starting and Americans seeing their premiums go up to the future of SNAP benefits, which have really been at the center of this fight as there are questions still about how much money Americans that receive these food aid benefits are going to get.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go, but clearly we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of a huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we can have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting it more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told his members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will. During that auction that we saw a little bit before, the attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets. Now,
it was not just a poor auction; it was absolutely lousy. And you know, when the dealers have to step in to save a Treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
Cryptoteacher and the new World Order book, plus the 3 kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get on stocks, the Xrp, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing, they were still getting that free money. What are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.